Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance. So sit back, relax and enjoy some satisfying stories. Paid drive time for zero work. A couple of years ago, we had a minor virus outbreak in our branch office. The email came in at 7:30 AM. I hopped in a company car and drove down as soon as possible. I got in the parking lot by 8:30, started working on the issue and had the affected workstation offline, packaged up in the trunk of my car, and a new workstation in the place of where the virus had come from. After all of my testing, it was pretty much locked down by 1 PM. I love the 1-hour drive to and from that office. It's 2 hours of paid mess around time, honestly. Have a cigarette, listen to the radio, not dealing with pointless nonsense from my superiors, just 2 hours of paid woosah. Taking that full hour to get back to the office, I get back by 2 PM, throw the workstation on my desk, 2 hours left in the day, I'm gonna coast on through. But then, my boss starts shouting at me. OP, what are you doing? Get off your lazy butt, get in a car, and go to the branch office now. They have a severe outbreak. I am someone thrown back. The issue was resolved when I was there. What happened? I looked over her shoulder and noticed she hadn't opened her email that day. It was 2:30 PM and she just now opened her email for the first time. She just now saw that we had a virus in our branch office. She just now thought it was the appropriate time to act as the IT manager and read her emails at 2:30 PM. Okay, another 2 hours of drive time? Getting me overtime? 4 hours of total silence throughout the day without people yelling at me? Sure. Just make sure you don't read the follow-up email that is literally one line above the one you just yelled at me for. Got overtime pay because traffic backed up that afternoon in an area that's already an hour and a half away from my house. Took 3 additional hours to get home when I came to the office the following day. My boss apologized, said I should have told her it was fixed. I told her I thought it was something I missed. Nah, I just didn't want to really do any work that afternoon. And I got paid overtime in the process of not working. Pretty marvelous if you ask me. How could the manager of the IT place check their emails at 2:30? Like, that's just stupid. You're supposed to check them first thing, surely. Boss tells me not to work overtime anymore, until the work stops getting done. Another short but sweet classic timesheet story. I'm an analyst in a very specific field, working off submissions from various clients, meaning my workload can fluctuate between a few weeks of minimal work and a few months of having 3 times the workload one person can reasonably accomplish in a day. We work relatively independently, with our boss assigning us various clients, and occasionally pulling us off our desks to work on his projects. My boss also has a selective workload blindness, wherein he mysteriously forgets about all your existing clients as soon as he needs you to do his project work, which contributes to the bad work weeks being very bad. Consequentially, sometimes I work 40 hours a week, sometimes I work 50 plus. Our boss's answer to our insane workload is to suggest we sometimes come in an hour early, or maybe stay an hour extra, or work through lunch. So, for a few weeks I did. After a week or two of submitting my accurate timesheets, where I came in early, took no lunch, and stayed as long as I could after normal working hours, he came into my office and angrily told me that I needed to keep it under 43 hours a week, because anything over that requires special approval from his boss, and he didn't think my current workload justified those hours. In other words, he had to explain to his boss why our department is working 50-hour work weeks just to stay on top of everything. So I started coming into work exactly on time, taking my time through a luxurious hour lunch break and leaving promptly at 6 PM. During that time, he also pulled me into several projects of his, on top of my other clients. Every night when I let him know I was leaving, he would look at me with disbelief and remind me of all the outstanding work left on his projects. I cheerfully told him I was approaching my overtime limit and would be happy to continue working on it the next day. After a few weeks of angry client emails, he quietly told me not to worry about my overtime approvals and to just get the work done. I can't wait to quit this hellscape of a job. Sometimes you just wish they'd make their mind up, like, do you want me to work overtime or do you want me to not work overtime and not get the work done? Please just tell me. You're gonna call the client and tell them exactly why? Sure thing. I work for a software company that started in the mid-80s. Since its inception, they've insisted on obtaining a system information sheet for every machine something gets installed on. They thought it would protect them from people installing on other machines, since they have no other verification system of how many licenses are in use. They also attempt to charge a full hour's rate for the few minutes of time it takes to install one of our software packages. I understand their awareness of us getting stuck doing 150 workstations, but the average number of licenses at a client site is 2. The clients pay a regular maintenance fee for support and product updates and are usually very angry when they get a new computer, need one of our programs installed, and then are told they have to fill out paperwork and still have their IT person/group perform the install. It's somewhat difficult and requires knowledge of networking and databases. And it's a frequent case when an IT person will charge them to screw it up, and we'll charge them to unscrew it. It happened more than once that the IT person or a desperate client trying to do it on their own has messed it up so badly that there was a catastrophic unrecoverable data loss. It's cost us more than a few clients, but the idea that someone might get one over on us by stealing a license is so abhorrent that management remains entrenched in the policy. We end up spending days going back and forth with clients to get pointless paperwork filled out to avoid doing 3 minutes of work. I'm not exaggerating. The software line I support takes under 5 minutes to install, even with the database/network complexity. And it's our poor receptionist that gets the brunt of it from the clients. No matter how many times our more technically inclined staff bring up things like terminal services, machine imaging, the fact that our passwords are stored in plain text, internet published environments, and any number of ways clients can easily get around the per-seat licensing restrictions, they're not having it. So it happened again yesterday, where a client called in expecting a quick install on her machine, and Erin, the receptionist, had to explain and send over the paperwork. An irate Hannah, the client, called 4 more times over the next couple of days, trying to get a different answer. She was eventually escalated to Dan in management, who said he'd come down and speak with us about it. But what he told us was to follow procedure. I tried to discuss it with him, and a few of the old-timers butted in. Laura from another team yelled loudly that I don't have the authority to change policy, which made Dan cower. Why are we spending 2 days and 3 people's time to avoid doing 3 minutes worth of work? It's not 3 minutes, and it's not your job to ask. It's your job to do what you're told. Is your name on the building? Erin's doing her job. Why aren't you doing yours? Me, to Dan, how much time do we waste doing this? How many times has this policy saved us money? Sherry caught someone using a license without paying at X Town. Michelle found a workstation hiding in an office at Y Town. Ray found an install left on an old workstation in Z Town. There was silence with Laura smirking with folded arms thinking she's won. So 3 times in 30 years. And all the while we've been arguing with clients, filing paperwork, combing through paperwork when someone wants to move a workstation, moving files between buildings, having people retrieve paper files from archives. What do you suggest we do? Handle installs as part of their maintenance fee, switch licensing models, or develop an automated license restriction method in the software. We look stupid right now, and the clients don't understand why they have to do this. Well, I understand that we don't want people stealing from us perfectly well, and you're gonna do your job and call the client and tell them exactly why. And we're gonna stand here and listen to you do it. So, I have to call the client on speaker so the whole support floor can see me be broken and do what I'm told for Laura's entertainment, despite the fact that it's extremely disruptive to anyone who is on call. Client Hannah explains her frustration with Erin and says she sent information sheets back in 2017. I explained that they needed to be filled out for every new workstation and that Erin is just doing her job. Hannah asked why a tech company is demanding paperwork for licenses when every other company just has a key or is internet based. So I told her exactly why, loudly while making eye contact with Laura. Because we have technologically inept decision makers insisting on enforcing a time-consuming Cold War era licensing policy, despite the fact all the times it's proven useful can be counted on a shop teacher's bad hand. And then the OP went for a meeting, so these are the reactions after. Edit. Okay, so as I said that, the guy across from me burst out laughing so hard that the clients heard it. I looked at him and missed Laura's initial reaction, and by the time I looked back, she actually just appeared hurt. Dan was looking at me with wide eyes and his mouth open, shaking his head, then turned and followed Laura. I then received an email to attend a meeting right before the end of business. At the meeting, a smug-looking Laura was waiting for me in a chair across from Dan's desk. OP, we can't have people deliberately embarrassing other employees in front of everyone. I agree. Laura's attempt to publicly degrade me was in really poor taste and highly unprofessional. Laura, now with mouth agape and vaulting up on the arms of the chair and yelling at Dan, You're not going to do anything about this? Dan, exhaling with puffed cheeks and resting his head on one hand, avoiding eye contact. We can't be embarrassing each other here. We have to work together. We all have to do our jobs. Thanks, guys. And I walked out. In a lot of workplaces, there seems to be a lot of unqualified people, don't you think? Like, why was she working there if she doesn't understand it at all? You only want me to work my hours? Bit of a backstory. I was an employee who always turned up to work early, as I hate being late, and just got on with work as soon as I arrived, which was usually 30 minutes before my shift. Never took a lunch break, instead just eating at my desk and working as I was busy all the time. I would often stay late to get the day's work done, otherwise it snowballs into the following day, and I can never catch up. I also did a lot of things for people that wasn't technically my job, but I often knew more about the query than the departure that was supposed to deal with it. One day, I was stuck in traffic due to an accident and called ahead to let them know I was going to be 5 to 10 minutes late. I got there about 5 minutes late and promptly got on with the already surmountable amount of work. Later that morning, I was called into the manager's office and dressed down, as I didn't come and apologize personally for being late. I explained that I called ahead and I'm always in early unless it's out of my control, and never take a lunch break. This didn't matter, as that was my choice and I'm expected to be there on time and just do my job. That's exactly what I did. Anything that wasn't my job, I asked them to contact the relevant department as I couldn't help. I sat at my desk and didn't log on until my start time, took my lunch and left on time. This caused a lot of issues as everyone knew to call me anytime during working hours for urgent things. Within a week, managers were having a go at me as they were having to take calls during their lunch, and I had made this issue as I was too helpful, and now I'm being petty because I got told off. I was looking for another job anyway, but this made me realize I was just a number to the company. I was made to take on a lot of extra work before this incident for my manager. I tried to protest the new workload as I knew the other department has downplayed how much it actually was, and I worked closely with them, but I was told it wouldn't take too much extra time in my day and help out the other department as they were struggling. Notice the irony about being too helpful? Within a month, I had another job within the company, and gleefully moved offices just as the handover of work started. Last I heard, there were 5 of them doing my old job, plus a supervisor. From a company where you were expected to be grateful for a £500 pay rise every other year, this must have been a huge dent in their budget. 5 people and a supervisor just for that one guy's job. Like, that guy must have been super helpful for that. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.